Well, I don't know if anyone's watching yet, but if you are, hello. I'm watching my audio. It looks like there's a lot of line noise. Can't tell where it's coming from though. I had to reinstall OBS Studio. Something happened to it and it stopped working on my computer. So I don't know. Let me know if it sounds weird or bad or loud or whatever. Hopefully it's all right. Okay, looks like I'm live. Cool. Well, yeah. Good morning. If you're joining me, I can't tell. The viewer count thing is always a little bit off. But I saw a few people in Slack this morning already, so good morning to you. Today I'm going to be talking about digital journalism, and I'll type this in Slack in a moment, but my plan for today is to give you a tour of quite a few different tools that might be useful. So this class will be a little, or this session will be a little different than what we've done before, but I'm gonna give you a question to kind of brainstorm on while I'm giving you a guided tour of things. So let me type that up. And get started shortly. Good morning, hello. Okay. So as I'm saying there right now, I'm going to be showing you several tools, and then as I'm doing that, I would like for you to use Slack to chat about stories, like the kinds of stories that would be good for any one of these tools, but just a story that's worth telling right now. And if you all can settle on one or suggest one, then I can try to make it, like try to actually do it today. Some of these tools, as you'll see, are actually collaborative, so it's something that I could set up and then you all could contribute to. So that might be worth doing anyway. When I normally do this session of class or something like it, it's in the face-to-face version. I have you all work at your tables to construct a very quick kind of demonstration with different tools. So each table would take a different tool and then try to make something. So this is kind of my attempt to capture that idea, but it's going to be me doing a lot of the controlling and moving through things. So it's obviously different, but I think it'll still accomplish the same thing. Okay, just up to 2 viewers on the stream if I look at it there. So I don't know if people are still on their way or if people are taking the day off. I understand if that's what you're doing. Or 7 viewers now. Okay, cool. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's people here, so that's fine. Okay, so let me say this now that there's a few people here. The basic idea of digital journalism, should you choose to do it, is that you're using a digital tool to tell a story. And I've mentioned this is probably the hardest module to do because doing the journalism side of it really takes time and discipline, and that's a whole class in itself. And it's also an expertise that I don't actually have. I'm not a journalist. But if we look at journalism from the storytelling side, like telling an information-based story that's nonfiction, that's something that any of us can do to some extent, and some of these digital tools that we're looking at here can help us do that. I also wanted to say, this is, in this time with the coronavirus, there is actually a lot of really, I guess, good digital journalism happening right now. If you look at like the New York Times and Washington Post and the Atlantic and Wired, lots of different publications have been putting out really compelling interactive stories using graphs and charts and maps, all very compelling, also very, you know, scary. So I'm not planning to show you any of those today, but I just wanted to mention that this is a real kind of golden age for database journalism, and so it's golden age is overstating it, but it's there's a lot of really good work being done in that area. So it's something that, I mean, it's not a silver lining really, but it's something that I've definitely noticed, and I've been sharing or trying to save good examples of that so I can sort of look at them later when they're not so urgent and scary. But that said, if you're thinking about this digital journalism module, students have done in the past pretty interesting things with this, and a category I would say of projects that students have done has been looking at or telling a story about their life. So I've had students, for example, use Timeline.js, which you've probably tried out now for the archaeology project, to tell the story of a friendship and using Instagram photos. So you take your Instagram over a year or so, and then you make events on your timeline, and then you tell a story about what was going on then, and then you can see how a friendship changes over time. And that's a really like a personal kind of story, obviously, but it's nonfiction, it's creative nonfiction essentially, and that can be really compelling in its own right. This time that we're in, this stuff we're dealing with right now, there's never been anything like it, and this is the kind of thing that I suspect many years from now we will be interested in thinking about what we were going through during this time. And so if you're thinking about the digital journalism module or still haven't decided yet, I think it would be, it might be difficult, but I think it would be really valuable potentially to tell stories about what you're going through right now and what your semester has been like and how it got weird. So that's just a thought. I'm not going to push that on anyone, but it's something that I'm trying to think about myself in terms of what I want to save from this time and look back on in the future. And so creating journalistic type pieces right now might be a good way to do that. Okay, so yeah, all that said, let me know what you think. I still don't see anyone chatting yet in Slack, but jump in there as you can. I'm going to go through the tools. I'm going to start going through several here, and then as things come up in Slack, I can respond and interact that way, I hope. Yeah, still just 8 viewers. Usually I get more on this the 10 o'clock view, but that's all right. Okay, so let's take a look through it. So I'm going to start off with a group of tools here from Nightlab. Nightlab makes Timeline.js, which you've seen, and they also make several other things that are pretty cool. So let me show you these. Timeline.js, as you know, I'll start with Timeline.js. Timeline.js makes interactive timelines. Interactive in the sense that you can slide them back and forth, and they're relatively easy to create compared to other things. You may have had some challenges getting it figured out, but it's not too bad really. You use a spreadsheet template, you drop the spreadsheet in here, and then you end up with, do they have a sample? They have a sample at the top. Well, you end up with this, like this is their sample with the women in computing sample. And then you can slide through it like this, and you can embed different types of media. Really pretty slick looking and nice, and pretty clear in terms of communicating its ideas. So I think those are the real strengths of this. The main, I guess, category of information that you would want to be using, that you'd be putting into this, is any kind of story that has a structured timeline or a sense of events in order, and that's not every kind of story, but that's what this one seems to be pretty good at. So that's something that I'm not going to introduce in much more detail than that because I think you've seen it already, but it is pretty cool, I think, and it's a good option. So actually, let me show you. Well, let me stick with timeline one more. I can't show you this project because the student decided not to publish it, but last year a student used Timeline.js. I remember last year in politics, in the political world, there were several high-profile people, politicians in the state of Virginia, who it turned out had photos of them in the past wearing blackface. And so that was obviously very embarrassing, and that was a big story. So I had a student last year went through the old yearbooks and bullets, like the publications at UMW, and published a timeline of examples of UMW students in the past wearing blackface. She decided not to publish that, but it was a pretty, you know, compelling piece of journalism in a way. There weren't any like major political figures or high-profile people that were kind of outed by that. It was really just something that would have been embarrassing to people. But you know, that's the kind of thing that a timeline was really good at showing, because you could see how over time there was a lot of blackface for a while, and then there was kind of none after around the 1950s and 60s, and so that was good in a way, but still kind of interesting and disappointing to look at. But that's a use of a timeline. That's a good use for a timeline. So let me show you a couple other tools here, or several other tools. Okay, so story map. This is when you want to have a map that's telling a story, basically. It's the kind of twin, excuse me, the twin of Timeline.js. I mean, lots of these have very similar names, so it's sort of hard to keep track of them. So this is story map. Let's take a look at an example. Let's see, how do we make this? I haven't made one of these for a while, so let me see how this works. Oh, click make a story map. Let me start with that. Oh yeah. So this one's a little different because you actually have like a custom editor here. So you have to log in with the Google account. And once you're in here, it kind of resembles PowerPoint or something else. What have I got here? I've got some, I guess I have some story maps that I made a while ago. But yeah, the basic idea of it, the editor, the way it's organized looks familiar to you if you've used PowerPoint or Google Slides. So you add slides, and then for each slide it's got a location and an image associated with it. I think this is one where I was trying to map out, why does it pick this location? I was trying to make a story map of my Channel F game console. So this was probably an example that I was using to show people yeah, what this would look like. So I don't know why it's picked this location. I don't know what location that is. But this is what it looks like ultimately. Like, it's slides and you can move in and out. If you remember way back when, I did show you examples of student projects doing the digital archaeology project, and there were several in there that were using story map instead of timeline or Omega. So that's something that I often do present as an option. But let me try to make a slide so I can see how this works. Okay, looks like I need to upload an image. Choose a file. Okay. For some reason, so this is totally random, but I, for some reason, have a bunch of SpongeBob episodes on this computer. I think it was for a class project a few years ago. But if I'm on this new computer, I have those are the images I have to work with. So let me load a couple here. I'll just select this one. Okay, let's do. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know why. And then I guess you upload it. I guess it's stored somewhere. I'm not sure where. And then I guess I put it somewhere. Where am I? Do I search in this? Oh, yeah, let's put this in Fredericksburg. And we'll drop it. Let's sort of drop it on. This is campus, I think, right? So HCC is about right there. So we'll put that there. And we'll just say the HCC, the place where it all happens. And so you've got marker options. Let's see what we could do here. Oh yeah, you can use a custom marker. That's pretty cool. If you want it to be a different thing that pops up there. For the background, looks like we can change the background color. So pretty nice. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, okay, so that changes the background of the slide as it shows up right there, which it might be important depending on what your image looks like. So, pretty intuitive, but I think it's suited to a particular kind of story. It's not just place, but sequence, like moving through a place. So it's a kind of story, but it depends. Which tool you use ultimately always depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell. So that's StoryMap.js. Again, kind of nice in the sense that it's a built-in editor, and you don't have to plug in or deal with Google Spreadsheets or whatever else. Okay, storyline. Let's see how this one works. I haven't done this one for a while. This is relatively newer, and let's see, how does this work? To make a storyline. Oh yeah, Google Spreadsheets. Okay, so this one's, it is a Google Spreadsheet like Timeline is, but it's a more, it's a simpler kind of template. Okay, great. So I think I could do this pretty quickly. So it looks like we have to have special names for the columns. We need to have a year, and then we need to have sheets. Wait, let's see. So we need to have a date time column and a data column. I wonder if the date time could be more specific than years. Okay, let's try it. Year, and then, so this is the kind of thing, like if you were telling a story about coronavirus, this is the kind of thing that might be useful. Unfortunately, we're lots of graphs we can see that we can find, and data that you could use to, you know, show exponential or you know, changing, flattening curves and all these things that we're talking about now. It might be the kind of story you want to tell, and that's okay. But you know, I'm not gonna do that right now just because it's a little stressful. But let's see. I need to come up with some. I need to come up with an example of something, but I can figure it out. Okay, let's do years. So let's start with 1900. 1901. Here's a cool trick that you can do in Google Spreadsheets. I think you can do this in Excel too. I don't know if you know about this, but you can, if you highlight a series like this, and then you click on the bottom right little thingy there, and you drag it down, it will automatically continue the series using whatever schema you've started. I think so. Let's try it. For example, I mean, this is not true, but like let's just try to figure it out. 50. This is meaningless data here, so don't put any stock into this. I think if you do, like, so see how those increase by 4. I think if you do this, it will continue that series increasing by 4. Yeah, so pretty cool. So this is a linear increase, right? So that's easy to, we should see a ascending, or well, looking that way, we should just see a straight line going up once we get this in here. Okay, so we've got population. Now we need to add a title text. We need to add a title. Okay. I think this is what we need to do. Title and text. Let's say this is the moments when grew past 60. I mean, I have no idea what this is. This actually is. I'm making this up. Okay, but this would be enough to test it. That's what I want to do. I want to get this just far enough along that I can test it and see if it actually works. Okay, publish to the web. Okay. And then what? Too many tabs. To publish to the web, copy the URL. Put the URL in here, just like we do with Timeline. Okay, so then we just have to use we have to tell it which is which. Okay, so year has that, dates are formatted like that, column, the data is not year, but population, which again, a linear growth is not very interesting at all. So same as spreadsheet. Okay, great. So yeah, so it looks like you configure it. Okay, nice. It actually does kind of work. So this then like you would do with Timeline.js, you can either embed it in a blog post or you can link directly to it. So this is what this one looks like. Yeah, so obviously just a straight linear line, that's not very interesting, right? But I think if now that we've got this link generated, I think we can just add to it, and then let's just change one of these numbers, just here, dip. For some reason, population went down here. I think if I just save that and then reload or refresh this page, yeah, just it automatically will update here. So this works kind of like slides, where you can kind of move along different data points and see some text explaining it. One limitation that I found is that you can't really put a lot of text here, so this doesn't work well for lots of exposition, but this is good for explanation. So if you have particular points in a curve, then that would be pretty interesting. I can imagine, like, I'm not going to do this again because of the anxiety, but I can imagine all the curves that we've been seeing about the coronavirus, attaching moments to, like, creating a storyline like this and then explaining certain moments as that curve was changing or increasing. So like our last day of classes, that was a pretty significant moment for UMW, March 11th. So that's something that you might want to, that could be a moment here, and then, you know, different other events, like when we decided to go to online, or once, you know, the governor announced stay-at-home orders, things like different events like that might be interesting to look at, and then having a graph moving along to show kind of how the virus was spreading as those different events were being recorded. I think that would be, to me, the most, I think Storyline would be the best tool for that. So.
Do you know what some AA batteries are?
Yeah, they're on the workbench back there. Yeah. Okay, so Storyline. Let's see what else we got. Let's go to projects. So, seeing VR is pretty cool if you want to do VR, and I'm not going to be able to do it. Well, I can demo how to use it, but I don't have a 360, any 360 images on my computer currently. But you can still kind of see how it works. So this is an example of what a particular scene would look like in this tool. And if you go to make a scene, this is more like Story Map, where you have an editor here instead of a spreadsheet. But I just was trying this out again with my SpongeBob images. And even with the flat JPEGs, like these are just basic JPEGs, you can get a preview of how it would look here in a web browser. If you had a Google Cardboard or some other VR tool, you could try it out here. I mean, obviously not really 3D, not really VR, but still kind of cool. I mean, like it's gonna try to force whatever images you give it into the 360, the spherical, what do you call it? The projection of it. So it looks weird because these are just regular flat JPEGs, but I could imagine like a higher quality JPEG, it might still look pretty okay if you put it in here, even if it wasn't a 360 JPEG. So you know, that's how you use it. Your mileage will vary, but that's all there is to it. You can also add text to it. I was just sort of trying this out this morning, so you can add text to each of those pages or places within it. And VR, if you think about it, VR in the journalistic context is really good at showing you what it's like to be somewhere. So this is showing you New Orleans after Katrina. So kind of thinking about a story that happened somewhere, if you can put your reader into that place with VR, I think that can be really compelling. So if there's a story to tell that has to do with that, then, you know, and you have the images, then that's something that you can really do really nicely. Okay, so StayOnSite, I have not actually tried this one, but it looks like you add audio URL and then yeah, so it looks like this one's a little different. Like you need to be probably writing your own. Oh, nice. So I was going to say, like, you probably have to be writing your own HTML, but it looks like they have a WordPress plugin where you can do this within the WordPress thing. So so StayOnSite is like a way to add audio to a story. So let's see if I can find one. Actually, no, I like Timemapper. So this one, tens of thousands of Egyptians packed into Tahrir Square in central Cairo on Friday, and then you can click this button here.
Anything, you know, that has to do with human rights or politics or social justice.
Okay, I think that's the wrong audio clip, because I did that earlier and it was the sound of crowd noise. So this computer has strange audio problems, so there's probably just something wrong with my computer that's loading that. There it goes. That's the right one. So I don't know what happened before, but that's what it's supposed to do. So the idea is that you can sort of embed people into a story by creating that audio immersion. So that's kind of cool. But you kind of have to have a story that you're telling already in text primarily, and then you're adding audio to that. So that's a certain kind of use for that. Still don't have any suggestions in Slack for a story to try to tell, so I'm just going to keep going through these things. If you have suggestions, then that would be great, but otherwise I'll just keep going. So juxtapose, this is a little bit simpler, or like a smaller kind of use case. The idea here is like you've got two images of something and you want to compare them, and this juxtapose tool gives you this slider where you can overlay the images essentially in the same place and then slide back and forth to see the differences in that image. So this is, what is this? I don't know what this is an image of, but this is someplace and it looks really different in 2013. Looks like farmland here. Looks like, is that the Olympic Village in Beijing, maybe? So that's sort of a guess, but that's the idea. Like that's, you can see those comparisons. Yeah, so anyway, all you gotta do is have two images, and these need to be, or no, associated, maybe, because that's what that looks like there. So you just have to have the two images, and they need to be JPEGs that are online already, so you need to have them hosted somewhere like Imager or Google, you know, I guess Google Drive would work. But then you just have to upload them here with the information, and then you see what they look like. So that's what this one looks like here. Pretty cool. So this is, if you wanted to do this one, you'd be writing a blog post probably in WordPress and then embedding this juxtapose thing. So this is a kind of story where you have two things to compare. One of the things people are seeing that I've seen that recently that are similar to this or might benefit from this could be, you know, with all the different stay-at-home orders, certain places that are normally very crowded are currently not very crowded, and so some people have been documenting that. So if you had two pictures of an event of a location at the same time of day, before the stay-at-home and after, that would be an interesting thing to juxtapose with this. So that's I mean, that's the thought, obviously, but there's other things, of course, that you could compare over time. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, what is the story, Emily? I don't know the story of the mascot. Is there a story of our mascot? What is the story? If there is a story, then and it seems like we don't totally know it, then I don't know. I'm curious. Looks like, yeah, both me and Marcus are interested in that. Rachel, yeah, I think both. I think both, ideally, which is what you can do with Timemapper, which is the next tool I was going to show you. You can also do this with Omeka, but like I've told you before, Omeka is probably too much work to do. Okay, so these are, let's see, was that all of the Night Lab stuff? I think so, yeah. They have a couple other tools that are in sort of beta or kind of don't work quite as well, but they might work, and so you're welcome to look at these. Like this is one that somehow integrates, SnapMap somehow integrates with Snapchat, I think. Don't know really how that works. I do have a Snapchat account, but I have not used it in forever, so I don't know. So let's take a look at Timemapper. So these are all tools by Night Lab, which is I don't know what they are. I guess they're a foundation out of Northwestern University. But there's also, where is it? So yeah, so Open Knowledge Foundation is a similar foundation, and they make tools as well. And the main one that I know from them is Timemap, or Timemapper. A lot of these tools, as you find, will have very similar names. So let's see. This one, I'm probably just going to load their sample, their pre-prepared example, which is, let's just try this out here, demoing time map. And what they have is for their, oh no, I just filled it in. What they have for their sample is this medieval philosophers timeliner thingy. And this is what it's going to look like. Often it's useful to take something that works and then transform it into your thing, as opposed to trying to make your own thing from scratch. So let's see what this looks like. This tool I haven't used for a while, and sometimes just in general, open access tools can be fragile. In other words, I hope this works. Oh, it does. Okay, good. But here we go. So this is, you can see the timeline down here looks similar to timeline.js, and then over here the map looks similar to storymap.js. So this is kind of doing both. And then this is letting you click through it slide by slide, and then as it slides along the time here, it clicks over to the right. So if we were going to do, so Rachel suggested doing the like a timeline or time map of when each state introduced their stay-at-home order or whatever they've called it. So you could do that. I think the challenge might be that states, when we think of a state, we think of like the shape of the state shutting down, and this might restrict you to actually dropping these on points as opposed to an area. But let's see what it actually looks like on the edit. So in other words, there's let's see, what happens if I just look at this spreadsheet? Can I edit this spreadsheet? Okay, location. Yeah, so it looks like location, it needs a point. So these are GPS type, or latitude, longitude locations. I don't know why there's location and location original. I wonder if there's an interpolation that it has to do. Should probably read the documentation on this. Okay. So let's make a copy. Okay, looks like I have a Timemapper folder already in my Google Drive. I don't remember having that. But okay, so I had to make this copy because the sample one that they gave me was view only, and so I made a copy for myself. So I probably have to publish this to the web to make it accessible. And so then I probably need to give the tool my URL instead of theirs, which was here. Okay, that URL looks different. Huh. Oops. What? I shouldn't be here. Don't tell me where I shouldn't be. Okay. Well, somehow I broke it, so I don't know why my URL looked different from theirs. It looked like they were using a different access method to it, so I don't know. I don't know what I did. So clearly your mileage will vary with some of these tools. I can't figure out, like, why can't I just, if I go back up here, nope. Did I seriously break it that much? I mean, this is their server error. Like, this is not even, okay, well, I don't know what I did, but, I mean, try it out, see, maybe it works for you. Maybe I just broke it for everybody. I don't know what, like this, Heroku is like the basic, like, server software that's rendering the whole web interface, so, I don't know what I did, but it probably works. It's probably just something I broke, just for this session. Okay, let's see, I had some notes here. Yeah, the last tool I was going to show you is Wakelit, and it's kind of neat because it lets you kind of gather evidence or curate a story in real time or as it's happening right now. So I've done this in the past with the e-waste just as a demonstration, but let's do another one here. I'm still curious, Emily, whatever the story of UMW's mascot is. Maybe that's the question. Maybe that's why it would be a good story to tell if you know what it is. Do you mean, so I remember that there was a whole big thing like a couple months ago when there was going to be a new, like, Sammy the Eagle look or something, and so there was I remember seeing a bunch of teases for it, like there's a new Sammy the Eagle coming, but then I don't remember seeing like the new one. I don't know what happened with that. Anyway, let's just try that one. The new, oh, there you are. So you got a link here. Oh, okay, yeah, great. So changes over time, yeah. Anytime we're looking at changes over time. So this one, if it's a historical story, this might not be as Wakelit might not be the best one for it, but we'll try anyway. It's Sam E, right? Sammy D Eagle, right? Is the D? Do we know if the D stands for anything? I'll add that here. It says. So, I mean, like, for example, Chuck. This is you may not know this. Chuck E. Cheeses. So in Chuck E. Cheese, the E actually does have it does have a meaning. Charles. So Chuck E. Cheese, and this is, I learned this fact, and then I always refer to this restaurant by its full name now. It's Charles Entertainment Cheese. The E stands for entertainment. That is well documented, but not well known. And so whenever my kids talk about, let's go to Chuck E. Cheese, I'd say, you mean Charles Entertainment? Let's go see Charles Entertainment and see. This is, anyway, so that's, so the D may have a meaning too. I can't think of one. Democracy? I don't know. Someone should, that should be the story. Although, like, I don't know, D is a risky letter. I'll just say it that way. Our mascot. So, okay, so let me show you what you actually do. I don't think I'm going to actually find this story right now, but just let me show you how the interface would work if I were able to. So you add content by clicking the button, and what's great about this is you can embed content from other places, especially tweets and YouTube videos. An older version of this, you used to also be able to embed Instagram and Facebook, but Instagram and Facebook have decided not to make that easy, so I don't know, it doesn't seem to work. Although they do let you paste a URL, I wonder if you can link to something that's public on Facebook. I don't know, I might have to, I don't think I'm logged into Facebook on this computer. So, well, okay. That's worth experimenting with, but usually though you would not be doing that. So let's just see if we can find a YouTube video just to show you what this looks like. Okay, so random videos that are being recommended to me. So this is our, this is Are We Live? Some of you might be in this class. I'm not sure. I haven't watched your most recent things to see how you're handling the shift, but this is that video. And you just paste it in, and then you've got it here. Stop telling me things. You can also just add text and tell the story. This is some text, and so just as a way to drop things in, it's kind of similar to like the block editor in WordPress, I think, but it's cool because you can also do other things. Let me show you what you can do with Twitter. You can actually search Twitter directly in here. So, yay, okay, great. So if you're searching for a particular something, I mean, should I try it? Sammy D, has anyone been mentioning Sammy D Eagle? Or just do something. What is it made at UMW? Or no, it's UMW made. Is that our hashtag that we're supposed to be using? Yeah, okay, so there's this one, but the idea is you can search. It's kind of convenient that you can search right here. And then it just gets embedded with the same kind of embeds that you would, all the media and other things that you would normally see in the Twitter timeline itself. So it kind of takes a timeline here. You can also search for hashtags, I believe. I don't know what's trending right now, or you can search by username. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. But you can also just, like, without doing that, if you just go to Twitter and you get a URL, you can just drop a link to a tweet right in here. And what else we got? What else can we do? Yeah, images, bookmarks. Not really sure what that is. Oh, I think this is just things that I've embedded in the past when I was trying things out. What else can we do? Images, PDFs, things from Google Drive or Flipgrid. So yeah, pretty cool. I mean, it's a way to take a bunch of things from different places and then put them into one place and then tell a coherent story with that. So this really kind of privileges things that are going on right now that you're trying to document right now. So of course there are always things going on Twitter, and so if you wanted to tell a story about a particular conversation on Twitter, sometimes the way Twitter threads those together makes it really confusing, I think, especially later. So if you wanted to tell the story about a conversation that took place on Twitter, I think Wakelit would be a good way to do that, because you could have text explaining what's going on and then embed the key moment that started it and then discuss that a little bit and then add another one and then kind of build it on your own that way. So I think this is really good for telling, or both archiving and just kind of retelling social media based stories, at least Twitter based. I mean, Austin, it may be that, that may well be it. That may well be it. So, I mean, this is kind of a random tangent here, but if you are interested in exploring this story, I imagine we can probably find the answer in the archives. And so, let's see. And actually, so Emily's links may actually already have this figured out, but there's a tool called UMW. So this is a web page that is a interface to the collections in archive.org, the UMW's Document Connect collections that are hosted in archive.org, including the blue and gray, which used to be called the bullet. And so I imagine that whenever Sammy D. Eagle was introduced, there was probably some discussion about what the D was. And so that's the kind of thing you might be able to find in the bullet archives. So, I mean, we can try it. This is a real rabbit hole, I can tell you. This stuff is fascinating. I get lost in these archives because it's so interesting to look at how UMW students in the past communicated about their school and the kinds of things that were going on. I mean, it's just really, it's fascinating. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, here's something about Devil Goat Day from 1930 or sometime. I can't tell. What I find really strange is, as you look through it, like, look, there's a lot of cigarette ads in the 1950s in particular. Like, look how much space is being taken up by this cigarette ad, the Chesterfields. And then even as you click through it, there's lots and lots of like cigarette ads over and over again. It just was a fact of life. You also see like ads for keg parties, like in the 70s in particular. Let's see if we can find Sammy D. Eagle here. All right, so this didn't really. This is searching. This is not a Google search, like, so this is. It's your mileage is going to vary. All right, so this is from 2011, so this is not necessarily going to be archival. Wow. Okay, so no, that's not probably going to be. That's probably not going to be useful. Let's see if Eagle shows up. Nope. Just Sammy Eagle. No, not as that phrase. So what about Samuel Eagle? I don't know why I'm being entertained by this so much. So Samuel, I mean, because clearly Samuel is his full name. Samuel Eagle. I don't know. I mean, I think we've got a real mystery here. Yeah. So Sam D. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. So I think we've got a real mystery in our hands here. This is the big question of DGST 101 now. It's like, what does the D stand for in Sammy D. Eagle? I mean, surely somebody knows. Like, this is not. Surely this won't take us that long to figure out. So when you do, if someone does figure it out, let us know in Slack so we can decide on that. So we can all benefit from that knowledge. I mean, of course, what you'll learn if you look into this, or if you maybe Emily's links already have answered this, but I wonder if, then and now might have it. Because the eagle wasn't always the mascot. Like there were, it's really windy out here. I think there was a time when What were we? Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I had a student group that did a webcomic one year, and they told the whole story, the origin story of Sammy the Eagle. It was all fictionalized, of course, but it was in the story there was Sammy the Eagle, and then it turns out that he had an evil twin brother named Sammy D Evil, and I can't remember what and they did a whole joke about the D for each of them meant something different. I can't remember what it was. Well, I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but it certainly could be. I remember one proposal for the mascot for MWC back before here. Let's see. Yeah, so this is 85, 86, it looks like, when we came up with the Eagles. But devil goats, eagles, militia, bayonets, and cannons. Lots of military stuff. I gotta say, I mean, I'm proud to be a Mary Washington Eagle, I guess, but it is not the most innovative or unique mascot name. I mean, at my undergrad, I was also an Eagle. And it's just, there's a lot of eagles. I remember one proposal I saw, I don't remember what time period this was, I think maybe the 70s, but one proposal was for us to be the Blue Wave, which I think is kind of cool. Or Blue Tide maybe, something like that. It was something water-based, which I don't know what that means. Anyway, so that was kind of a random tangent, but I like it. The main thing to think of and just to kind of wrap up here, the main thing to think of with digital journalism is think about the story you want to tell, and then think about which tool will help you tell that story the best. All of these are information-based stories, or creative nonfiction, or data-based stories, and you've got a lot of different ways you can do that. I've shown you just a few, and I like these because they're relatively quick as far as going from an idea to a demonstration of that idea. There are more refined things that you might want to look into, especially if you're interested in like a data-based presentation of things. Like you can write a little code in Python and then create graphs in an embeddable way that could be included in a blog post. There's something called Plotly I was playing around with a little while ago that can do really, really rich data analytics and present it in the web browser. So you've got a lot of different options, but these tools that I presented today are hopefully a pretty good starting point. And there is a list of these in the digital journalism module page on DGST101.net. So I need to double check to make sure that it's current, and also I need to figure out if I've broken this. Okay, so this still works. I'm just going back to Timemapper to see if it's okay. So it seems like it's better now, but it logged me out, so maybe I don't know. You shouldn't be here, it says. Why can I not be here? I don't know. Well, it looks like it's working again, but I don't know if this is gonna. I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. So, anyway, see if you can figure out what the D stands for in Sammy D Eagle, and otherwise, I'll do on Monday. I'll do another walkthrough of a module. I'll probably do the cultural analytics or visual analytics module because that's probably my favorite one to play around with. So I will plan on spending some time on Monday doing that. Again, you don't have to commit to a module yet. You've got some time to think about things and see what the options are. But that was digital journalism today. Hope that was informative. Okay, so hope you all are doing well today. It's a nice sunny day, so try to get outside if you can. It's very, very breezy in my area anyway. I need to refill the bird feeder, but I'm afraid it's just going to blow seed everywhere. So might wait till the wind dies down a bit. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, shut it down. So thanks for watching, and have a good day.